What's up guys, how you all doing? Today we're going to be doing a camera review and I'm super excited. We're going to be reviewing the A7R III. Let's go ahead and let's get to it. So this isn't going to be a super technical review. There's plenty of videos out there on the specs and the performance of this camera. So I'm not going to bore you guys with another video listing everything off, being super dry and clinical, and then just being like, well, this is a good camera, this is a bad camera. No, this is going to be a different kind of review. This is going to be a review based on the perspective of someone who owns the previous generation of this camera, the A7R II, and has been using it as a primary camera for the past 5 years. So I know my way around the A7R system, the A7R II. I spent a little bit of time with the A7R III, but I haven't had a lot of time with it until just recently. So I'm going to be listing off the trade-offs of buying this camera, like compared to the old camera and stuff like that, and whether it's a worthy successor, and even if it's still a very good camera today, given that there's an A7R IV already out there. So this review might be a little bit dated, but it's still really worthwhile, so hopefully you guys stick around with me till the end. Now, before I go too in depth, I want to take a second to thank KEH Camera for making this video possible. KEH Camera is the biggest supplier and buyer of used camera gear out there. They have loads of gear at great prices and all in different kinds of conditions, so you can make sure that you choose the one that's right for you and fits your budget. So I bought a few pieces from them in the past and I've been really happy with them and the condition that they've came in. They have a rating system that's really generous and have a return and warranty policy that makes you confident that you're going to be selecting a piece of kit that works for you and making sure that you get it at a great price. I'll have a link down below so you guys can go check them out and see the huge inventory, because I'm sure there's going to be something in there that's going to catch your eye. So KEH Camera and I are also hosting a $100 gift card giveaway on Instagram. There's going to be more information later on in the video about that, so make sure you stay tuned because it's really exciting and I'm really stoked to bring this to you guys. So make sure to stick around, then also check out everything down below in the description and on Instagram. But for now, let's get into the actual review. All right, so we're gonna start off with the ergonomics of the camera by itself. Why am I talking so much with my hands? I don't know, it's just like constantly waving around. It's distracting, I'm sorry if it is, but it's just how I talk. Anyways, back to it. It has a thicker body, so it makes it a little bit easier to grip. It doesn't make your hand feel as cramped or fatigued after a long day of shooting, which for me, I had a lot of problems with it with the A7R II. The grip was just too shallow and it just made everything feel just so uncomfortable after a long day of shooting, hiking. If I was just walking around throughout the city with it, it was just kind of a pain to hold. And then the overall layout of the buttons on the camera themselves were always like very confusing to me. Even after using it for so long, it was just uncomfortable to have to switch and kind of reach my fingers around to get to the buttons that I really wanted to use. Now, they did have customizable buttons, but having to go in and actually customize those just so you can get something that seems reasonable and works efficiently is kind of a bummer. You should have a good layout to begin with so you don't have to worry about messing around with it in the future. Anyways, that being said, the A7R III doesn't have that issue. I feel like all the buttons are really where they're supposed to be. I don't have to reach my finger or my thumb around to find what I'm looking for. It's just all within grasp and it's all within a nice little joystick move. Speaking of which, I really love that they included a joystick in the A7R III because the joystick is so useful. I love the joystick. I always made jokes that if I could only move the joystick onto my A7R II, I'd have a perfect camera, although that's not completely true. But for the most part, I just really like the joystick. As you can tell, it's a really big thing for me. I very much enjoy moving around my autofocus point to select where I want it to focus instead of having to worry about moving it from one place to the other, locking focus and then switching, or just like going around with the actual ring and then selecting my autofocus there. It was a big pain on the A7R II, and I know a lot of people have a lot of gripe about it, and I am one of those people. Another overlooked thing that people forget sometimes is that this new A7R III has a stronger mount than the previous generation. It has 6 screws instead of 4, which makes mounting a lens on it feel a little bit more secure. When I have something like the 70-200 on there, it feels more solid and locked in than my mount did on my A7R II. On the A7R II, I always felt like it was a little flimsy. I always felt like it would break off if I put a heavy lens on it, and it wasn't the most confidence inspiring thing to have on there and to experience in general. So I'm really glad that they stiffened up the mount on the new generation, and the A7R4 is another example of that. They just stiffened it up and it feels so much better. It feels a lot more secure. There's always a little bit of wiggle room when I'm putting any kind of lens on my A7R2. Maybe that's just because the mount itself is loose, but I've tried tightening it on my own and it just doesn't seem to solve any of that problem. So I don't know what it is. It might just be my camera. I don't know if you guys have the same issue. If you do, let me know below, but I haven't seen it with a lot of other people. So the A7R3 has a really nice strong mount, which I enjoy, and for anybody who's shooting professionally, who's doing a lot of sports and has something like the 70-200 on there, you're gonna feel a lot more secure. You're gonna feel a lot more confident out shooting in whatever environment that you're on. The weather sealing is also something that they improved. Although I live in Los Angeles and there's not too much rain or any kind of bad weather, it's mostly always sunny, I still go out to other places that have different kinds of weather. I do go out into the snow, I do go out to the desert and all that stuff. I go up north and there's a lot of rain up there and mist, and I was always really kind of cautious taking my camera out there because it doesn't have the best weather sitting out there, so it's always iffy. But the A7R3 is a lot more beefy, so I feel like I can take it to any situation and I feel a lot more confident. Okay, so the ergonomics, if I had to boil it down, is that the camera is a lot better built. It feels like the buttons are way better placed. So overall, it feels like a more professional camera for professionals. All right, next up is performance, and we're gonna start with the sensor itself, mainly because it's the easiest thing to go over. Nothing has really changed. It's still a 42 megapixel sensor. It's pretty much exactly the same. I think they've tweaked it a little bit, but it's not anywhere noticeable to where it's considered a brand new sensor. It's pretty much the same thing. It is the same one. Where they really tweak things up, I think, is the colors. I feel like the A7R3's colors are just a little bit nicer than the A7R2's. I always feel like I have to edit the A7R2's files a little bit more just to make them look sort of normal. On the A7R3, everything kind of looks pretty accurate to what I remember seeing. All the colors pop and then they just feel a little bit more accurate overall. And when I go into edit, I feel like I can just go straight away. I don't have to do major corrections or anything. I can just go straight to the edit that I want, and that's it. With A7R2, I had to correct everything first and then go in and edit the photo however I wanted it to be edited. So there's a little bit more work that has to be done with the A7R2 than the A7R3. Overall though, they're pretty much the same sensor. Next thing up is the screen on the back of the camera. Now that hasn't changed at all pretty much. I still think that the screen isn't that great. Where you're really gonna see a difference is in the electronic viewfinder itself. That looks a little bit nicer too. So if you're looking through that, you're gonna see a notable difference in clarity, in colors, in contrast. It just looks a lot better than the A7R2's does. Overall, that experience looking through there was a lot more pleasing. Now it's time to talk about battery life, which is for me one of the biggest draws to the new A7R3, or the newer A7R3 than my A7R2. The reason being, the battery life is so much longer. I mean, it's ridiculous how much longer the battery life is compared to the A7R2's batteries. I only have to take one battery out for a full day of shooting. On the other hand, if I was trying to shoot with my A7R2, I usually have to take around 4 batteries with me anywhere I went. I just wanted to make sure that I have enough battery life to last me even my modest shooting. So it's a really small difference that makes a huge impact in how you're shooting, because you don't want to take around a lot of batteries if you can help it. Having 1 or 2 batteries in your bag is more than enough, and should be more than enough for any kind of shooting, unless you're in a professional setting, in which case you'd have more than 2 batteries anyways. But if you're just shooting casually, having 1 or 2 batteries should be more than enough, and this camera covers it completely. For full day shooting, 1 battery is typically enough, which is fantastic. That's the biggest draw to this, because I hate carrying around so many batteries with me when they're absolutely not necessary. Now the next thing up isn't the biggest deal to me personally, but it is to other people, so I'll just quickly mention it. This new A7R3, or the newer A7R3, I just keep saying that it's new because it's new to me, but the A7R3 has 2 memory card slots. One of them is a UHS 2 slot to handle all the megapixels and the speed that it shoots, which is 10 frames per second versus the A7R2's 5 frames per second, which I think is appalling. And the buffer time it's just a bad buffer. It's just so bad if you're doing any kind of sports. I know it's not meant for sports, but still, it's quite terrible. The A7R3 has a much better buffer. and being able to use and utilize the UHS 2 cards is just a big help. So it has one of those UHS 2s, and then it also has a UHS 1. If you're doing any kind of video recording, that's going to be more than enough. And if you're going to be doing any simultaneous recording or relay recording, that's also very helpful. Although for me, it's not the biggest draw because I don't really use 2 cards, or I don't need 2 cards for the most of the things that I do. But I know, again, for other people, it's pretty necessary. So just wanted to mention that really quickly. But for me, again, it's not going to be the biggest draw. Just wanted to mention it. One of the biggest things for me in terms of video is the 120 frames per second recording in full HD, full frame. Now, this is one of the biggest things for me because on the previous version, on the A7R II, it only has 120 frames per second in 720p, which is not great. Let's just say that. It's not the best thing. It's not the best option. I did a project forgetting that it only shoots at 720p, and going into my editor, it was just so frustrating. So I'm really glad that this one has the 120 frames per second in full HD. It makes life a lot better. It feels so great. The autofocus between these 2 cameras isn't drastically different. I know there's more autofocus points, but I feel like the performance between getting focus with each lens isn't drastically faster. I do notice the improvement when I'm trying to take any kind of portraits. The autofocus does snap onto faces and hold onto them a little bit better than the A7R II did. The A7R II tended to hunt a little bit more, especially in lower light. So having this new autofocus is really nice and useful if you're going to be taking photos in low light. Whew. All right, so now that that's done, let's just talk and go over the benefits of having the new system. Again, just a quick overview of what it was like to use. Overall, it is a faster camera to use, whether it's setting up your menu systems, whether it's using the buttons correctly, like making sure that everything is in the right place so that you can get to it a lot quicker. The autofocus is, again, a little bit speedier. Battery is going to be lasting a lot, so you're not going to waste time switching out batteries constantly, which is very nice. It's also a lot more reliable. The bigger body, the nice, like, tough weather sealing makes it a more professional camera overall. So you can take it to any setting and know that you're going to be having a camera that's going to last you the entire day, whatever you throw at it, which is always nice, especially when you're paying so much money for a camera like this. So overall, the A7R III is a great camera by any standard. The autofocus speed, the image quality in both photo and video make it a hard choice to beat compared to any newer camera that's come out recently, even the successor to it, the A7R IV. Aside from the megapixel jump up to 61 megapixels, the A7R IV doesn't offer you that drastic of a shooting experience to where you would choose that over the much cheaper A7R III. That marks up the end of this video, this technical, not technical review of the A7R III. If you guys have any questions, make sure to drop them down below, and I'll make sure to answer them as much as I can or as best as I can. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you feel so inclined, please subscribe. I would really appreciate all the support that you guys give me to make new videos like this, because I want to get on this. I want to make more videos for you guys to enjoy, make more reviews and stuff like that. So hopefully you can give me some support in that way. Now it's time for the giveaway announcement you guys have all been waiting for. You guys have sat and waited patiently for this announcement, or you guys have scrubbed ahead to this point, in which case, good job, you little cheaters. You guys beat the system. Anyways, now here's the announcement. KEH Camera and I are going to be hosting a giveaway. We're going to be giving one lucky winner a $100 gift card to use at kehcamera.com, where you can go ahead and buy a nice little lens, or you can put it towards a bigger purchase like picking up an A7R III, for example. Now, all the details on how to enter are going to be posted on my Instagram, so make sure to check that out at Koyo Films. There's going to be a post with all the guidelines listed down below. But basically, all you're going to have to do is follow me, Koyo Films, and you're going to follow KEH Camera on Instagram. You're going to comment down below on what you would use the gift card for and why. We will choose the best comments and make sure you bring your A game and let us know why you want to win in general. So that's going to be cool. All the full details, like I said, are going to be listed down below in the guidelines, or in my caption on Instagram, so make sure to check that out and read it thoroughly, please. And then the winner will be announced on May 25th at 1 p.m. Pacific time on my IG story. So make sure to stay tuned for that. It's going to be very exciting. I'm really excited to bring this to you guys because you guys are awesome, and I want to make sure that you guys are constantly out creating. You guys have everything you need, and if picking up a new little piece of kit is what's going to help that, let's go ahead and let's do it. So really excited. Can't wait. Thank you guys again for watching. Really, really appreciate it. I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.